Hello, everybody. It's Camille, Aiko. I hope that you are living the life that you love, spiritually, mentally, physically, and financially. We are on chapter 21 of the book, The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. So as you're coming in, go ahead and drop a 1 if you're going to be watching this with me live and interacting. Drop a 2 if you're catching this on replay. And be sure to share this video so you can help your friends and family out. And in addition to that, you're going to be added into the live drawing that we have every week just for sharing. And so you're going to be entered in for cash prizes, gift cards, and free health and wellness products. So good evening, everyone who's joining in. We are on chapter 21. Hey, Wilbert, what's happening? How was your day? We're on chapter 21 of the 10X Rule. So invite your friends, share this video. Antonio, awesome. Let me know what you think about it. So I've been saying that there's 22 chapters in this book, and there's actually 23 chapters in this book. So make sure you all stay around for that last chapter, even though I have been saying that there is 22. So this chapter is focused on excuses. Excuses. We all have them. We all use them, and it is time for us to cut it out if we want to reach the next level in our life. I'm good. I am good. I've been able to catch up on some rest and plan to do some more. All right. Had a wonderful day at church today, and things are great. Things are great. Hey, what's going on, Vernon? So yeah, as you guys are coming in, drop those 1s below if you're staying on here. Drop a 2 if you're catching this on replay. Make sure you share the video, invite your friends to it. So what is the 10X rule all about? The 10X rule is using 10 times more effort, 10 times more thought to achieve your goals. See, when we set our goals right here at this level, and then we only aim here, a lot of times we end up falling short and we don't end up reaching our goals. So Grant is teaching us how to shoot way above what it is that we initially thought we desired so that we can get what it is that we want. So he says, there's a quote that says, if you shoot for the moon and miss, at least you'll land amongst the stars. And that's what we want to do. We want to at least land amongst the stars, because we know then that we have done our best and we have reached our full capacity, because there is so much more that each and every one of us has inside of us, and we are allowing it. Hey, thanks for dropping that 1, Alfonso. We are allowing that to get in our way, excuses to get in our way. Yes, much needed rest. The battery, that's what I was actually just checking, 96%. We are on 96%. So I made sure that I charged my phone. No excuses, right? No excuses. Okay, so we are going to confront the little monsters that, again, each and every one of us has. We all have excuses on why we haven't accomplished something in our lives, why we haven't reached our goal, why we haven't started that business, why we haven't started getting closer to God, why we haven't started that workout plan, that weight loss plan, whatever your goal might be. There's always an excuse. And so if you want to live in that 10X life like we've been talking about, it is time to cut out the excuses. And so we are cutting them out, because if we don't confront them now, then they're going to become the distractions later on in our life that is going to stop us in our tracks. And that's not what we want. Okay. And when we really think about that success, and you define your level of success, but once you do that, then you throw a 10X rule on it and put 10 times more effort and 10 times more thought into it. You know, after you define what your level of success is, then you want to make sure that you don't allow excuses to come and get in the way. All right. And excuses, they're justification for doing or not doing something. And we're good at it. We're really good at it. And as we've talked about, that a lot of people, we set New Year's resolutions, right? And we've been working on the same New Year's resolutions for the past 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Some women I know have been trying to get rid of that baby weight that they got when they were pregnant, and now their child is like 25 years old and they're still trying to get rid of that baby weight, right? It's like time out for all the excuses, because then it becomes, well, then I had kids and I didn't have time, and then I got married, and then I couldn't do this, and then I got this job and then I couldn't do that. Like, stop. stop. So many people are in the same predicament that you have been in, but they have been able to reach their goals because they decided they were going to cut out the excuses. And so tonight you have to make the decision on whether or not you are going to cut out the excuses so that you can get what it is that you desire in your life. So an excuse is really something other than the real reason that motivates your actions or the lack thereof. So when we think of excuses, a lot of times people are like, well, this is a valid reason. And even the dictionary would describe it as a reason, but really it's not a reason. It's actually the opposite of the reason. It's the thing that is getting us off track. So we're also going to be talking tonight about how to identify what are those excuses that we constantly use, because without identifying the excuses that we constantly use, and we'll continue to use them because we don't look at them as excuses. We look at them as valid reasons when in fact they are not. Hey, Daniel, thank you so much. Okay, so here's an example that Grant gives in the book. He says, let's say that you're late. And so someone asks you why you're late and you're like, man, the traffic was so bad and that's why I'm late. And he says, no. If you're going to work and you know that there's traffic every morning, you can't blame the traffic on the fact that you're late. The real reason why you are late is because you didn't leave in enough time to get to work. You didn't allow yourself enough time to fight through the traffic. And so it's so easy for us to start playing the blame game and the victim role, but you know that there's going to be rush hour traffic. So why wouldn't you leave earlier if it was truly your goal and your desire to be on time? So it's even in those little things, those everyday examples that causes us to miss out on our goals because we're constantly making excuses on why things are not happening for us when we should be looking for the solutions to why things could happen for us. And we'll talk more about that. So I'll even give another example. I was in Maryland last week and I brought a group of teenagers with me and some of them felt unprepared in certain areas. The trip came up quick, right? And they're just like, well, it happened too fast and we don't feel like we got this information. I'm like, no, you got the information, but you were too excited about the trip being free, right? That you just skipped over some things. It was kind of like, I get out of a free week of school. I don't want to get up early, but you are right. Yes, there's plenty of us who don't want to get up early, but we need to do that if we want to be able to reach our goals. And so one of the things that I said to my teenagers was this, it is up to us. You went on the website. You got the information, you got the papers. So if you feel unprepared in certain areas, that it is not everybody else's fault. I teach my teenagers, even at a young age, that you have to take responsibility for your own actions. So even if somebody messed up and didn't give you the information that you thought that you needed or thought that you desired, then you should have gotten up and you should do the research on it because you are in control of your life. And so therefore, don't expect people to just give you handouts and expect to just feed you all of the information. At some point, you're going to have to get up. You're going to have to get the information. You're going to have to do your own research, and you are going to have to make an intelligent decision on what it is that you are getting yourself involved in. And so, we can't allow things to come in and stop us in our tracks and say, okay, well, we'll just blame it on this. That sounds like a good reason on why I didn't accomplish something. No, that's not a good reason. It's not good enough. And if you care about your future, if you care about your life, then you're going to stop making excuses. If you really want 10x goals. Now, if you want to be average and you want to get average results, then that's fine. Then continue to do what you do, because most of us are living those average lives. Most of us are in places where we're not really happy with where we're at. We know that we could be doing more. We know that we could be achieving and excelling to a higher place, but we are allowing little things to come in and bother us. And we allow that to happen every day. And so those little things become big things. And then we don't see the results that we desire. Right? So he says excuses are never the reason for why you did or didn't do something. They're just a revision of the facts that you make up in order to help yourself feel better about what happened. So we just begin to make up things so that we feel good. It's like, okay, well, my child had this, so I had to stop and do that. Or, my child fill in the blank. My husband, fill in the blank. My wife, fill in the blank. My boyfriend, my girlfriend. Like, we start looking at all of these outside sources versus looking within and saying, I should have planned better. I should have known better. I should have thought about this differently, right? That's part of that 10x thinking, that we think out things 10 times better than what we typically did because we want to have 10 times the results. We want to have extraordinary results. We don't want to have average results. And so if you want extraordinary results, then you have to put in extraordinary actions and you have to put in extraordinary preparation in order to get those results that it is that you desire. So, hey, Stephen. All right. So the next thing, the point that I'm going to highlight from this chapter, hey, what's going on, Gary, is making excuses will not change your situation. Only getting to the real reason will do this. So, I mean, you can think about some things in your life that you make excuses for. And you can see in your life that you are, even if we stay with the same example of being late, okay, that if you say, okay, well, I was late today because I couldn't find my keys. And then the next time you're late because your alarm didn't go off. And then the next time you're late because you were tired. And then the next time you were late because, see, all of those are reasons, but it's a habitual pattern of why you're always late. And so you have to if you want to solve the issue, you have to get to the root of the problem so that you can actually get a solution. So you can't, if you're always late, then you have to go back and say, okay, what is the real reason on why I'm always late? Because all of this other stuff are just excuses to justify why I am late. Hopefully you guys are catching this. So if you and especially, those things in your life where you find out like you're just like really frustrated, maybe one of your goals is to speak out on issues and be bold when you see injustices happen or when you see or hear someone doing something that is negative. And maybe you're like, I should have just spoken up. That person shouldn't have been treated that way. And then you're always frustrated every time. You're like, well, I didn't speak up this time because there was just too many people in the room. Oh, well, I didn't speak up to my boss this time because they wouldn't have heard me anyway. Those are all excuses on why you're not doing what it is that you want to do. Maybe it's the real reason that you're not doing it is because you're fearful and you need to overcome that fear. Or maybe you need to practice some of the things that you are going to say. Maybe there's some exercises that need to be done so that you can feel comfortable in speaking up. But there's a quote that says, speak the truth even if your voice shakes, right? So in those moments where you just feel yourself being so frustrated with not accomplishing what it is that you want to do, you have to go back and examine what are the excuses that I'm making in my life that aren't allowing me to get to my goals, that aren't allowing me to achieve what it is that I desire to achieve. All right. So now the next point, excuses are for people who refuse to take responsibility for their life and how it turns out. Are you pointing blame or are you taking responsibility for the things that are happening in your life? Are you taking responsibility for the things that are happening in your life, or is it everybody else's fault? Are you the person who is always doing everything right? Are you the person who knows everything? Are you the person who doesn't want to go and learn and get any more knowledge because you know it all? Man, I got this all figured out. I already know what the problem is. The problem is so-and-so did this and they just need to, if that is you, then you want to be the person who looks at themselves and say, I am making excuses. I am playing the blame game. And this is why I'm not able to go any further in my life, is because I am not taking responsibility for my own life, but I am putting the blame on everybody else. Everybody else is wrong and I'm the only one who is right. That's time to drop your pride. It's time to drop your ego, and it's time to shift the gears into looking at what it is that you are or are not doing that is not allowing you to get to your goals. Okay, so the next thing, excuses are for victims, and victims get leftovers and scraps. So if you want to live out the 10X rule, the 10X rule is about getting 10 times more than what it is that you initially desired. So that way you can be prepared when challenges come your way. And you can't be prepared when challenges come your way and be living in this point of abundance if you're always making excuses, because we know that when you make the excuses and then you have the victim mindset, that all you get is leftovers and scraps. What can you be prepared for? If you're always borrowing money from someone, if you're always depending on the government, if you're always depending on boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever, in order to make ends meet, what exactly are you doing in abundance? You're just living off of leftovers and scraps. Is that the way that you want to live your life? There are some people who do just want to live their life that way. And I guess that's fine. You know, if that's really the way that they want to go, okay. I can't force you to want better for yourself. You have to want better for yourself because that's what you desire. Okay? And so if you want leftovers and scraps and you're like, hey, that's the life for me, leftovers and scraps, go have at it. But if you want to live out this 10X rule, you have to stop and say, okay, I'm done with the excuses. I know that I should be further ahead. I know that I can stick to this diet plan. And the only reason why I'm not is because I'm making excuses. I know that I should be further along in exercising, but I'm making excuses. I know that I should be higher in my job, but I keep making excuses on why my boss treats me bad and why my coworkers are horrible and why I'm not going to put any more effort into my job. Maybe it's that business that you were supposed to be starting. What are these things that you are allowing distractions to come and stop you? All right. So then the next thing, let me see. I think I have to put the blame on my job because they worked me half to death. Right. And even on that. So if you know your job was working you half to death, why did you stay there? They become dependent on those. They do. People become so dependent on the scraps. And we know that these jobs, a lot of jobs do work people half to death. So that is my question to everybody. You know, if that becomes the reason why you're not achieving your goals, then you have to ask yourself why. Why are you putting in yourself in that position to be worked half to death on something that is not truly fulfilling your purpose, that is not allowing you to walk in your calling? Like, we have to begin to challenge ourselves. And so when you're doing that, that means that you're only working that job for the money. You're working the job so that your bills can be paid, but you're miserable. And I personally believe that that's not the life that we should live. That's why I encourage us to live the life that we love spiritually, mentally, physically, and financially. So the other thing that we need to know, okay, so there's two things then. I don't think I said the other one first, is that excuses never improve your situation. So two things we need to know. Excuses never improve your situation. The more you make excuses, the worse your situation is going to get. The more you make excuses, the worse your situation is going to get. Easy as that. So you make an excuse versus getting up and taking action, your situation will never change. It will always be the same. If you are down and in the dumps, you will always be down in the dumps because you're not getting up and taking action. If you don't like it on your job, then you're always not going to like it on your job because you're going to start making excuses and blaming your job. If you don't like your marriage is always going to suck. Why? Because you're not getting up and taking action to make it any better. So the goals that you set. So first of all, you have to identify what your goals are. And then once you identify those goals, then you need to make sure that you are not making your own excuses to stop you from reaching your own goals that you have set. We can be our biggest enemy. Oftentimes, we are our biggest enemy. And we're like, you know what? I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to accomplish this. And then we look back on our lives and we haven't done any of it. And it's only because of us. Because I can't make you do anything. The next person can't make you do anything. You are in control. So when are you going to decide no more excuses? I am ready to take action. I am ready to take my life to the next level. When are you going to decide that? When are you going to create 10x goals, and so that you can put in 10 times more effort and put in 10 times more thought so that you can stop getting average results? So he says the second thing that we need to know is that most excuses that we use, they are used on a regular basis. Like, these are habitual excuses that we use almost daily. And he says that we have to identify our excuses. And so he puts a bunch of them on here that I'm sure all of us have said at one point of time or another. And so just listen. And I want you to pick out some that you have said before. It's hard for people to jump and take a risk. It's okay to fail. You learn a lot when you fail, but you can also succeed and be happy with your decision. Absolutely. I mean, just because you decide that you are going to take a different path and get off this unhappy path doesn't mean that everything's going to go perfectly. But like we've talked about, that once you change the path and you understand that it's aligned with your purpose and it's aligned with what your calling is, then it doesn't feel so much as work. It's actually looked at as rewarding. And as you go along, it's not the blame game, but you're looking at how can you find a solution so that you can reach your goal. And that's a lot of times we go on our jobs, we don't even set any goals for ourselves, but to make our paycheck for that next week or the next week and a half or the next 2 weeks or the next month, however it is that you get paid. We're so trained to go after the money versus walking in our purpose and our calling that we miss out on so much fulfillment in our lives. So now some of the excuses that we use on a habitual basis. Let me find them here. Let me get on the right page and find them. I don't have the money. I have kids. I don't have kids. I'm married. I'm not married. I have to find balance in my life. I'm overworked. I'm underworked. Too many people work here. We don't have enough people. My manager sucks. My manager doesn't help me. My manager won't leave me alone. My manager is negative. My manager is too jacked up. I don't feel like reading. I don't have time to study. I don't have time for anything. Our prices are too high. Our prices are too low. The customer won't call me back. The customer canceled the appointment. People don't tell me the truth. They don't have the money. The economy is bad. The banks aren't lending. My owner is cheap. We can't find the right people. No one is motivated. People have bad attitudes. No one told me. It was someone else's fault. They keep changing their minds. I'm tired. I need a vacation. The people I work with are losers. I'm depressed. I'm sick. My mom is sick. Traffic is terrible. The competition is giving its product away. I have such bad luck. How many of you all are tired of giving these excuses? How many of us are tired of giving these excuses? And I'm pretty sure that majority of us have at least said one of these excuses or use one of these excuses. And if not this one, there's plenty of others. This is just what Grant put in this small paragraph right here. Like, we've got to get so sick and tired of being sick and tired that it motivates us to change. All right. So the next thing he says is that we have to identify. Yeah, when you align yourself with what you love, it's like you're not even working because you love. Absolutely. Absolutely. But we're just busy trying to find the next job that's going to pay us more than the next or give us the flexibility that we need. Like, we're not really after what it is that we were put here for. And so it's like, all right, well, they'll go from paying me $20 to $25. I'll take it. But you take the same mindset and you take the same excuses with you when you go to that next job. And so nothing changes. And then you're in the same predicament a few months later, or even a few weeks later, even a few days later, because you're not actually, there's nothing that has changed except for your environment. And sometimes just changing your environment without changing your mindset is not enough. So we have to make sure that we change our mindset, put away the excuses so that we can achieve our 10x goals. So the next point, we have to start understanding the difference between making excuses and providing actual sound reasons for events. Because as we've already stated, your excuses will change nothing. Your excuses will change nothing. You have a problem, you need to figure out how to solve it, not create an excuse. Because those excuses are just side factors. There are things to distract you and to get you off course of what the real problem, the real issue is. And this is why we end up with so many different issues, is because we're not dealing with the base problem. Right? This is why people end up going off and finding side habits, because they're not willing to deal with the root issue. Even coming from this conference that I was just at, just talking about different ways of prevention, a lot of people end up on drugs. A lot of people end up on opioids and marijuana and alcohol in an abusive manner, is because they're not willing to deal with the real issues, the root issues. And so we create these things in our lives that become an excuse, and oh, well, I can't do this because no. You can do it. You just have to make the decision. You have to make up your mind that you want to do it. That is right there what you just said. Thanks, Waylon. Okay. All right. So the next thing, nothing happens to you. It happens because of you. We get in this mind frame that, oh, all of these bad things happen to me. All of these things are just going on in my life. And we have to get to a point, according to Grant, that of the mindset of things don't just happen to you, but they happen because of you. And there was a chapter where we talked about there was an accident that went on. And during that accident, Grant was just saying, we talk about the law of attraction. What if we realize that the things that are even bad that happens is because of something that we have done, things that we have attracted into our lives? And with the car accident, Grant was saying maybe in this case that you're always late, and because you didn't leave in a timely manner, that's why the accident happens. Or maybe you were so distracted about the argument that you had with a family member before you left the house that is what got you off course and why you ended up getting into the car accident. Like, there's different, if the law of attraction is real, as we have discussed before, then that means not only do the good things come in our lives because we attract them, but the negative things come in our lives as well because we attract them. So we have to look at our lives and say, okay, what are we doing? What are those habitual things that we are doing that are causing us to have these type of results in our lives? Because it is the things that you have done up to this point that has gotten you to the point where you are. So if you're not happy, if you don't like where you are, then you have to stop and reflect on your life and say, what has it been that I've been doing on a daily basis that has gotten me here? Because I guarantee you are going to find patterns in your life. If it's been on jobs, you're going to be able to hear, maybe you've worked 5 to 10 different jobs in the past few years here. You're going to be able to identify some reasons that it was never a good fit for you, why you had to leave, why you got fired. And if you find that those reasons are blaming other people, then you need to take a look at your life and say, what was I doing? How was I at fault? When people get pissed off and get tired of BS or getting screwed, hopefully they will change, unless they were just like getting paid for less. Yes, people, the reason that job hired you is because they seen value in you, but they're not paying you for your value. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so we go and we take it because we just feel like I have to take this job in order to get my bills paid, but you're unhappy. And then you begin to make excuses on why you can't change because you are stuck in a place of just feeling like, well, at least I know where my paycheck is going to come from. And at least if I do it this way, then everybody will look at me like I'm a normal human being, versus really stepping out and going for your dreams. Going for the things that you know you were put here to do, because there's just something innately in you that is telling you that there is more and you're not listening. And we have to begin to listen to that inner voice that is within us. We have to begin to listen to those passions that we have within us. And if what you're doing isn't aligned with that, then you need to switch it up. And if what you're doing is causing you to be stressed out, then you have to identify what is it that is actually causing the stress. Is it you, or is it because you're doing something that you're not even supposed to be involved in anyway? And I'm not even talking about illegal activity. I'm literally saying, do you have more in you than, or a different calling in you than working in a factory? If you work a factory job, that's fine. But is that your calling? Is that your purpose? Is that what God would have you to do? And if not, then what are you going to do about it? And don't make an excuse of, okay, well, it's too late for me to start that business that I feel like God was calling me to do, or I feel like was really on my heart. When I was thinking about KFC and just thinking about General Colonel, right? Colonel Sanders, not General Colonel, but Colonel Sanders, he was 65 years old when he started KFC. And in fact, there was one of my business partners just made a post about this, but he was 65 when he started KFC. He was on his pension. His pension paid him $109. $109 at 65. Now he's retired, and that was his pension. So he's broke and 65, and he decides that he is going to start Kentucky Fried Chicken. What if he would have made excuses? What if he would have said, you know what, I'm too old, I'm too broke, and I can't do this? No, he got up and he found the resources. He got up and he made a way. He got up and he made presentations. He made phone calls. He made the chicken. He kept going. He kept pushing. Do you think it was easy? Absolutely not. But because he knew that there was a greater calling for him, he knew that there was something greater for him to accomplish, he kept going. He had to knock on doors. And because he kept going, now all of us know who KFC is, what KFC is. We have eaten at KFC at some point in our lives, whether we frequent there or not. And some of us have that same calling to make such an impact. And not just here locally, but around the world. I remember being in Japan and eating at KFC. Because KFC has made such a global impact. Just because he had a dream of cooking chicken and allowing people to feel happy and satisfied. What are your dreams? What are your goals? It's not too late. It's not too early for you to accomplish them. It's not too late. It's not too early for you to achieve them. But you have to believe they're capitalizing on you. Way to go, Camille. Enjoy the rest of your night. Thanks, Waylon. KFC on my mind. All right, Eric, you feeling a little hungry? So then the next thing, no excuse can or will make you successful. Engaging in self-pity and excuse-making are signs that someone has an extremely minimal degree of responsibility. Good night, Devin. All right. Engaging again, in self-pity and excuse-making are signs that someone has an extremely minimal degree of responsibility. You want to reach your goals? You want to start that business? You want to have a successful relationship? You have to take responsibility. It can't always be someone else's fault. In fact, my brother, he was telling a story today, and he was just saying that his daughter, and is she one yet? Lord, I don't remember how old my niece is. But she was running to him and saying, go, go. And so she picks him up and she's like vomiting everywhere. And she ends up vomiting in his mouth, and it's like all over his clothes, and there's vomit all around the carpet. I know, disgusting, right? And he's like, but I couldn't blame her because she was sick, and I couldn't blame my wife because the mess wasn't cleaned up. But a lot of us, we take those situations and we get upset. Like we get angry and start blaming it on everybody else when it's like, you know what? No, like I just need to take responsibility of the fact that my child is sick. There's vomit. It needs to be cleaned up. So let me assume responsibility for what's going on. And then then he can't be mad because the house isn't cleaned up. He can't be looking at his wife like, Well, why didn't you clean it up? Well, why didn't you do this? Baby girl, why do you throw up everywhere? It's just kind of like, she's sick. Take care of her. Vomit needs to be cleaned up. Clean it up. Why do we always look for outlets to make excuses on why things are not getting done? Sometimes you just have to step up and say, I am willing to be the one to make the change. I'm willing to be the one to make the impact. And then if you want to increase on your job, that's how it begins to happen, because now they're actually seeing your potential come out in you. And it's not just like, okay, well, we hired you because we thought that you could do good. Now there's like, we hired you because we saw that you could, you're doing it. So now let's elevate you to the next level because you're the type of person that we want in this company. And stop being upset when you get let go and you weren't doing anything in the first place. Just coming to work, just sitting, just looking. Then it becomes everybody else's fault. No, what did you do? What was your role to play? All right. So the next thing. Most don't assume responsibility when something goes wrong. We kind of already talked about that. We must assume responsibility, identify solutions, and adopt a more advanced sense of responsibility and refuse to make more excuses. We just got to stop. Assume responsibility, not resume, and stop making excuses. When we really take control of our lives and say, I am the one who is in control. I am the one who makes decisions. Like, we only want to be bosses when it's during the good times. Like, oh, we made money. Yeah, I'm a boss. But part of making you a boss is being able to get rid of the excuses, find solutions, and then making things happen. We only want the credibility. We want the reputation. We want the fame that comes from being the boss. But you're not really a boss. You're really someone who is just looking for someone else to make your life better and to get the credibility for being good when you're not. And so we have to be real with ourselves. We have to be honest with ourselves and say, what are the areas that I need to work on? Where are the areas that I need to change? Where are the areas that I need to grow? And really challenge. We need to challenge ourselves. By doing this, you can avoid similar situations in the future. So that's an added bonus. Not only are you going to be able to take control of your life, but then you can also avoid these situations in the future. This is part of the process, the journey of success, right? Is that you are using your failures, you are using things that didn't go the way that you planned for them to as stepping stones to get to the next place. Like, this is all part of the growth process. So you use one stepping stone to get to the next. But you can't do that if you're not learning from it, because then you're going to have to go through the same learning experience over and over and over again. We wonder why we are not advancing. It is because we are still stuck in the same problem that we are not able to solve, that we are not willing to solve. It's not that you're not capable of doing it. You're just deciding not to. So when is it that you will decide that you are capable and that you are willing? And when are you going to get tired of making excuses so that you can see your life get better? It's time to give up the excuses. Great accomplishment is the proof of our determination. Absolutely. Hey, what's going on, Taryn? All right. Quality of being rare is what makes something valuable. The quality of being rare is what makes something valuable. Anything that is plentiful is very little worth. Excuses are one item that people seem to have an almost endless supply of. So if you are a person that makes a bunch of excuses all the time, your value is being diminished. You are belittling yourself because you are just making excuses. People who are successful in whatever sector they are in, whatever industry, whether it's sports, whether it's entertainment, whether it's business, they have to put on the mindset that I will not make excuses. If you want to reach your highest level, then you have to make the decision that I am done making excuses, because once you become the constant excuse maker, nobody even wants to deal with you because it's like, I already know what they're going to say, or they're not going to push you or challenge you to be your best because they already know that you are going to give them the least. And we talked about on yesterday that your name is your most important thing. And so is that how you want people to know you as the person who's not going to show up, the person who's going to do the least amount of work, the person who's not going to be the team player, the person who's always going to be down in the dumps, negative and depressed, the person who's always going to be, you don't want that. That's not what you want. You don't want to be known as the person who is always going to come up with some creative reason on why you can't accomplish what you are supposed to accomplish. That's not a good name, and it doesn't add any value to you. So if you are plentiful of excuses, trust and believe that your value is going down and down and down. Look at your life. You're going to be able to see whether those excuses have gotten you to a place of success, your place of success, or if it's gotten you to a place of frustration. Are you frustrated with your life right now? All right. Excuses do not forward your desire to create more success for yourself. They are worthless uses of energy. Coming up with excuses are worthless uses of energy. They don't get you any closer to your goals. It does not make you want to create more ideas. It does not want to make you create more success. It stops you in your tracks. It keeps you at low level thinking. It keeps you at low level acting. And if you are thinking low and you are acting low, then there is no way that you can do what this book is saying, the 10X rule by Grant Cardone. And you can't get there. You can't achieve. Not at the level that you really want. And you definitely can't do 10X. Now, he says success is not an option, but your duty, your obligation, and responsibility. Because of this, you must commit to never using excuses for anything. It's better not to say anything at all than creating an excuse. Don't come up with an excuse if you just don't say anything. Like, it's just better not to even open your mouth. Just be quiet. Don't come up with an excuse. Y'all hear me? Like, stop using the excuses. Hey, Roger. All right. The other thing, you cannot allow yourself, your team, your family, or anyone in your organization to use another excuse as the reason why something didn't come to fruition. This should be the culture that you set in your family. This should be the culture that you set amongst your friends. This should be the culture that you set in your church. This should be the culture that you set in your business. This should be the culture that you set in your organizations. Guys, that there are no excuses. It's funny. I lead a praise team at my church, and sometimes I love y'all to death if any of y'all are on here, but y'all already know what it is. But we can come to rehearsal and it's like, well, I don't know that part because, and I'm just like, there's just no excuse, and I don't want to hear the excuse. So do you ready to learn, or are we going to make excuses? Because the longer we make excuses, the less time we have to practice. My mindset is just either let's get it done or let's not get it done. But the excuses in between, I'm like allergic. Like I can't take it. I know sometimes it frustrates people, but literally I'm like, don't give me an excuse. Like, do you want to learn it now or do you not want to learn it now? Do you want to do this now or do you not want to do this now? But your excuses are going to get you nowhere. They're going to get me nowhere. It's not going to help anybody. There is no value in them. It's not going to get you any closer to your goals. It's not going to get you any closer to success. Excuses, blah, 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 blah. That's how it comes across. That's how it should come across to you. That you don't allow people in your circle, in your bubble, to come in and just create excuses. We are solution-oriented people when we want to live out this 10X rule. That means we've got to get rid of the excuses. Right, Wilbert. And it's just like, I don't have time for it. I don't have time for it. Yep, someone screwed up. Maybe I screwed up. Whoever screwed up. Maybe the musicians screwed up. Whoever. Maybe it was them. That's fine. It's done. We're going to learn from that. And now we are going to move on. And we're going to cut out the excuses. And we're going to get what we need to get done. Period. In business, in ministry, in music, in whatever it is. Like, excuses have got to be something of the past. Excuses have got to be something that we say, no more will I allow you to control my life. I have control of this thing. I am the one who is going to make the decision. I will not place the blame on somebody else, because I am a force to be reckoned with. I dominate, and you cannot dominate if you are consistently making excuses. So if it is meant to be, it is up to me. If it is meant to be, it is up to me. If it is meant to be, it is up to you. But that has to be a mindset that you take on. It's got to be a mindset that you take on, that you can't wait for somebody else to come and make success happen in your life. You have to say, I want it, and I'm willing to go after it, and I'm willing to put aside all excuses in order to get it. All right. So guys, that was chapter 21 of the book, The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. So thanks so much for joining in. We do have 23 chapters. So we got two more nights of discussing the book. If you haven't gotten this book, make sure you go and get it. It will challenge your thinking. It will challenge the way that you do things. And make sure, if you haven't already, shared this video, because it is going to help your friends and your family decide not to make excuses in their lives, but help them to find the root reasons on why they do what they do, so that they can fix that and they can advance 10x levels. All right, guys. So my name is Camille Aiko, and I hope that you are living the life that you love, spiritually, mentally, physically, and financially. Good night.